When most shops see a P0131 or P0137 code on your dashboard, they hand you a quote for $600 to $1,200 to replace every oxygen sensor in your car. What they never tell you is that, in most cases, the sensor is not dead. It is dirty. And a dirty sensor can be revived at home for almost nothing. Today I am showing you 7 proven methods to clean your oxygen sensor without removing it. Some of these will cost you less than $10. One of them will cost you absolutely nothing. But together they can give you an extra 20,000 to 30,000 miles of clean readings and problem-free driving before you even think about touching that sensor. A faulty oxygen sensor tanks your fuel economy by up to 40%, throws false codes, and causes your engine to run rich or lean for no good reason. Before you hand a shop $1,000, watch this entire video. Let's get into it. Number 7. The Fuel Additive Scrub. Here is something the automotive industry does not advertise. Modern gasoline is significantly dirtier than what engines were designed to run on 2 decades ago. Ethanol blends attract moisture. That moisture carries microscopic contaminants that coat your oxygen sensor tip with a layer of silicon and carbon. Once that layer builds up, the sensor starts sending incorrect exhaust readings to your ECU. Your engine compensates by injecting more fuel than it needs. Your fuel economy collapses. And your check engine light comes on. But the sensor is not broken. It is coated. The fix is a quality fuel system cleaner. Not the cheap bottles at the gas station, but a product containing polyethyramine, or PEA. Brands like Techron Concentrate by Chevron and Redline Fuel System Cleaner are trusted by car manufacturers for exactly this reason. PEA has been proven to dissolve up to 70% of carbon deposits throughout the fuel system. Pour a full bottle into a nearly empty tank, then fill up with top-tier fuel. Drive normally for 2 full tank cycles. The cleaner works its way through the entire fuel system, dissolving the buildup coating your sensor on the way out through the exhaust. 2 tank cycles. Roughly $30. Versus $300 for a new sensor. Start here before doing anything else. Number 6. The vacuum line induction method. If the fuel additive is a gentle scrub, this is a pressure wash. Instead of waiting for the cleaner to work through the fuel system, you push it directly into a vacuum line and let the engine's own suction pull a concentrated dose straight to the combustion chamber and exhaust system, hitting the oxygen sensor almost immediately. Get a PEA-based cleaner rated safe for oxygen sensors. Seafoam, Cataclean, or a similar product works well here. Attach a straw nozzle and find the brake booster vacuum line on your intake manifold. With the engine running at fast idle, between 1,500 and 2,000 revolutions per minute, slowly introduce the cleaner into the vacuum line. Do not rush this. Go too fast and the engine will stall and you risk fouling your catalytic converter. You will see significant smoke from the exhaust. That is carbon and contamination leaving the system. That is exactly what you want. Let the chemical sit for 15 minutes with the engine off. Restart and run until the smoke clears completely. Repeat every 25,000 miles or whenever the engine starts running rough. Cost: under $20. Time: 45 minutes. Results: immediate. Number 5. The Italian tune-up. This one costs nothing. Not a single dollar. And it is the oldest trick in the book. If you spend most of your driving time in city traffic at low speeds, your exhaust never gets hot enough to burn off the carbon that accumulates on your sensor tip. The soot builds up layer by layer until the sensor responds so slowly it triggers false codes and rough idling. The Italian tune-up solves this with heat alone. Drive the car for 15 minutes to fully warm the engine. Then find a clear stretch of highway or open road. Drop into a lower gear and accelerate hard. Hold the RPMs between 3,000 and 4,000 for 15 to 20 minutes continuously. The sustained high exhaust temperature, around 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit, creates thermal desorption. The heat vaporizes carbon deposits the same way a self-cleaning oven burns off food residue. For hardened deposits, try this variation. Push the RPMs close to the red line, then immediately lift off the throttle and let the engine decelerate to 2,000 revolutions per minute. Repeat this 4 or 5 times. The rapid temperature cycling cracks and loosens carbon that sustained heat alone cannot shift. Drive gently afterward. Let the engine idle for a few minutes before switching off. Zero cost. 15 minutes on an open road. Try this before spending a single dollar on anything else. Number 4. Water mist steam cleaning. This sounds like mechanic voodoo. It is actually pure physics, and it works better than most chemical cleaners when done correctly. When a fine water mist is introduced into a hot running engine, it turns instantly to steam inside the combustion chamber. That steam is absorbed by hardened carbon deposits. The rapid expansion physically breaks the carbon apart from the inside out, something liquid cleaners simply cannot do. Start with the engine fully warmed up. Disconnect the air intake tube to access the intake manifold opening. Rev the engine to around 2000 revolutions per minute and maintain it there. Using a spray bottle filled with distilled water, never tap water, spray an extremely fine mist slowly into the intake opening. If the engine stumbles or sputters, stop immediately and wait for it to stabilize before continuing. You will see smoke from the exhaust as the steam carries carbon out of the system. That smoke is the process working. Once finished, reconnect the intake and run the engine for several minutes to clear the exhaust completely. 2 critical warnings. If you introduce too much water at once, you risk hydrolock, water in the cylinders that cannot compress and bends connecting rods. This is a catastrophic and expensive failure. Go slowly. Also keep water away from the mass airflow sensor. Water on a hot MAF sensor causes immediate and permanent damage. Done correctly, this is one of the most effective carbon removal methods available. And it costs nothing but a bottle of distilled water. Number 3. The MAF sensor calibration reset. Here is something most mechanics will never tell you, because it eliminates a diagnostic bill. A dirty mass airflow sensor can trigger oxygen sensor codes. When the MAF is contaminated, it sends inaccurate airflow readings to the ECU. The ECU compensates by adjusting the fuel mixture incorrectly. That incorrect mixture triggers P0171 to P0174 codes that look exactly like a failing oxygen sensor. Your mechanic sees the code, quotes you a sensor replacement, and never mentions the $10 fix sitting under your hood. Here is how to do it yourself. Wait until the engine is completely cold. Locate the MAF sensor between the air filter box and the intake manifold. Remove it carefully. Spray the wire filament element 10 to 15 times from multiple angles using only MAF sensor cleaner. Never carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner. Both will destroy the sensor permanently. Do not touch the filament wire with anything. Not your finger. Not a cloth. Not the spray nozzle itself. Let the sensor air dry for a full 30 minutes before reinstalling. Then clear all stored codes using an OBD2 scanner. If you do not have one, disconnect the negative battery terminal for 30 minutes to reset the ECU. This allows the computer to relearn accurate airflow data from the now clean sensor. If the rough running returns within a day or two, the MAF is failing and needs replacement. But in most cases, a $10 can of cleaner eliminates what looked like a $400 sensor problem. Number 2. PCV system refresh. If your oxygen sensor is constantly black and greasy rather than sooty and gray, the problem is not carbon from combustion. It is oil contamination, and the source is almost always a failed positive crankcase ventilation system. When the PCV valve is clogged or fails open, raw oil vapor gets pulled into the intake manifold and burned through the engine. That oil smoke passes directly over your oxygen sensor, coating it in a layer of burnt oil residue that makes accurate exhaust readings impossible. You will also see blue or white smoke from the exhaust and a consistently dropping oil level. The fix is one of the cheapest repairs in automotive maintenance. A new PCV valve costs less than $10 for most vehicles. OEM parts for precision fitment run around $25. The repair takes under 10 minutes. Locate the PCV valve on the engine valve cover. It sits in a rubber grommet with a hose attached. Pull the hose off. Twist or pull the old valve out of the grommet. Push the new valve in. Reattach the hose. Start the engine and check around the valve for any air leaks. If the engine is still running rough after the replacement, give it a week. The oil residue baked onto the oxygen sensor needs time to burn off during normal driving before readings return to normal. This is a $10 fix that eliminates oil contamination at the source, and no shop will ever suggest it because there is no profit in it for them. Number 1. The intake drip kit decarbonisation. This is the last resort. The most thorough, most aggressive cleaning method available without physically removing the oxygen sensor. And it works when everything else has failed. Also called an intake cleaning service or decarbonisation service, this process connects a canister of high-concentration cleaning solvent directly to the engine through the vacuum line or throttle body while the engine is running. The solvent mixes with fuel and burns at significantly higher temperatures than normal combustion. Over a 30 to 40-minute treatment period, that superheated mixture burns off every carbon deposit in the combustion chamber, exhaust valves, exhaust ports, and catalytic converter, passing over and cleaning the oxygen sensor tips on the way out through the exhaust. Most shops charge $150 for this service. But DIY canisters are available for around $40, and the process is straightforward enough to do at home following the canister instructions carefully. One important indicator. If a single canister runs through the system and the engine still throws the same codes, the oxygen sensor has been contaminated beyond what cleaning can reverse. At that point, replacement is the correct and only answer. But in the majority of cases, especially if you have caught the problem early, a single treatment solves it completely. This is your final option before spending $300 or more on a new sensor. Use it as a last resort and it will almost always deliver. Here is the bottom line. Shops make money replacing parts. They do not make money telling you that a $10 cleaner or a hard highway drive solves the same problem. Every method in this video exists because the chemistry and physics work, not because a parts company paid for the recommendation. Try these in order from number 7 down. Most of you will solve the problem before you even reach number 3. If this video saved you a trip to the shop, hit like and subscribe, because next we are going into the camshaft position sensor. A $50 part that mechanics routinely turn into a $6,000 repair bill. And when you see how they do it, you will never look at a diagnostic quote the same way again.